Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Legion video. Today I'm actually in live, but this is about a change in Legion that is most easy to describe in live. So, this has actually kicked up quite a controversy over the last while, and it all revolves the in-game camera. Essentially, using console commands, you're able to set the maximum distance of your camera to be really far back. Now, I've chosen this location in Stormwind because there's loads of objects you can really sort of feel the perspective with, because the kind of tall vertical things are a good yardstick. So they've changed that, and what I've done is I have bound the various different camera distances to hotkeys. So on Alt 5, I have the current maximum distance, which is what you can see right now. And when I hit Alt 4, this will take us into the new maximum. So essentially, the way that it used to work is if you would go into interface, if you go into camera, and then you would go to max camera distance, you would set this to far. Okay, so I'm just going to use my scroll wheel now, and you can see this is as far as I can go. But if I hit right now in the game, my macro, it'll zoom my camera a bit out. This is functionality that is beyond the capabilities of the regular in-game sliders, and it's been used by players for a number of reasons in the game. First of all, you quite literally see more. So if you look at my field of view, look at the left and right of the screen, as you can see, I can see quite a lot of stuff over to the sides here. Now if I hit Alt 4, I go in, and suddenly I can see a lot less. One of the reasons that Blizzard have cited for this is that essentially there is a competitive advantage to zooming out this far, and because you'll be able to see stuff in a wider field of view. I mean, I can pretty much see 360 degrees around my character for a pretty sizable amount of distance. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, when it comes to raid content, it's the sort of thing just going to help you out a lot. Now, as a devil's advocate, I would say that yes, it does give you a competitive advantage. However, I actually think that when Blizzard are going to make bosses, and again, this is why this is a very convenient place to test this feature out, look at this statue right in front of me. When Blizzard are making bosses as tall as that guy, for some players, you could argue that when this is your maximum, what I'm at now, it's a little bit annoying that you can't see the top of the boss. Maybe it's disorientating. Wow, words are very hard. Now, I'm somebody who does not suffer from motion sickness. Even back in the days of the Oculus Rift DK1, I was able to use that fine. I would not feel motion sick. I can play high-intensity games in the Rift and Vive. I don't feel motion sick. I do get really car sick, though. But what I'm getting at here, and I've even tried playing WoW with VR, and wow, okay, that did make me motion sick. But generally, I play FPS games, stuff like that. Motion isn't a problem, so I don't really suffer from any motion sickness, even if I'm fighting a boss on my cameras like this. However, I have to wonder whether, for players who do suffer from a degree of motion sickness, fighting a really large boss, I just think it might be a bit more comfortable when you're zoomed this far out. And I'm saying this less from a game design perspective and more from an accessibility perspective, because I think that is something that is worth bringing up. Now, there is a very, I think, pertinent game design talk to be had about this. So, we've been talking a lot about the action camera in Legion, and a lot of people in the comments of my videos have said, wow, that really makes the game feel a bit more dynamic, a bit more impactful, it really shows off the animations, and it's a bit more immersive looking because you're closer to your character, and you've got a camera angle that dramatically frames them somewhat. Now, if you compare, that camera to what what I'm at right now, it's a very, very, very different experience as far as the game is, and I suppose a lot of this is just, what are Blizzard, what sort of game are they trying to deliver? Personally, I think they're at the stage where they've got so many people playing World of Warcraft with so many different desires. I think they should just leave it as is, throw the action camera functionality in, and by the way, just for those of you who are excited about that functionality, don't worry, it's not being impacted, but I think they should just throw both things in and let players have the choice, because I don't think that the competitive advantage the Blizzard are talking about is really all that significant. I mean, yeah, right now, look at these trees beside me. Sure, I can see them really clearly, and now I can see them a lot less with my camera like this, but I honestly don't think that's the be-all, end-all of stuff. Perhaps for some players who, they really need that visual aid of seeing a mob go towards them, maybe for them that will be a bit of a difference, but let's be real, if you've got DBM or bigwigs, you don't really need to see everything, and maybe if you were designing the game from scratch, you actually wouldn't have this really far back camera because it's a bit less, I would certainly say it's a bit less immersive. However, that's just my personal opinion. And for a lot of players who are doing raiding and who are, you know, doing bits of content, you know, where they really do want every single advantage, I can see how that's really good. However, it does create what people often call a kind of a power differentiator. So the people who have more knowledge, who've went online, found that console command, and now have this really zoomed out camera, they technically are at an advantage to players who don't. However, you know, I could just hit a button. I'm not going to do it right now because it'll really break up my recording. But I could just set World of Warcraft to 21:9 because I've got a Acer Predator X34 monitor, which is a 21:9 aspect ratio. That's more widescreen than 16.9, and that means that I see more to the left of my character and more to the right of my character, which, even at the regular zoom value, does give me a somewhat comparable power increase, or at least, you know, ability to see more in a boss fight. Now, I know in this video it seems like I've just been talking around in circles. We haven't really came to a firm conclusion, and that's because, honestly, I don't think there is a firm conclusion. When I looked at Ian Hazzikostas' points, I agreed with every single one of them. He even said that, as an example, you know, was the game designed like this? Players who are not happy about the situation, is it because this is a truly superior sort of camera angle from an immersive standpoint, from a game design standpoint, or is it more the players know this is technically better, at one point they turned it on and they've never looked back since, and then they've got used to it? So I think there are many different perspectives here because there's so many people who play World of Warcraft and so many different things there. At this stage, my view on it is that the best thing to do is actually to pretty much leave things as they are and throw the action cam in. I don't think this is causing a ginormous problem because if you think about it, if you jump into heroic content, heroic raid content, the people there are, they're going to have, you know, if this truly is such a big, or sorry, mythic even, I'm still in mop mode, aren't I? You know, run into mythic content, right? The people who have got, who really want to be at their utmost performance, they're going to be using this, and why sort of game design restrictions around that 1%? Realistically, I'm not of the opinion that having a camera zoomed out this far is going to be a sort of make it or break it power sort of differentiator between your player who is or isn't using it in a bit of normal raid content, LFR raid content, or heroic raid content. I just don't see the difference being that ginormous. And personally, you know, I don't die a lot in raids. I'm generally one of the two guys, I do it with the other hunter, who goes around doing all the special little mechanics that hunters can do because we're mobile and we've got deterrence. And I honestly just find it a bit more comfortable to play at about this zoom level. I know loads of people will be thinking, holy shit, you're a scrub. Whatever. You know, I don't find that to be a massive issue, but maybe if I'm doing Mythic Archimon, which I haven't done because I haven't been playing the game on live much since betas, you know, came out, I've been putting all my efforts there, but maybe if I'm doing Mythic Archimon and I've got that many more things to concern myself with, perhaps I'm going to go to this, but Mythic is a use case that affects so few people overall in the greater picture, so overall, I don't think it matters that much. Sure, a Mythic Raider like this is probably going to be worse off than a Mythic Raider like this, but you're bouncing around so few people, why apply the restriction to everyone? I don't think it makes the most sense. Okay, hello, it's me after the fact. One point that I completely forgot to put in this video, which was super dumb of me. I play a ranged DPS, a hunter specifically. Now, that really does change things, because if I'm a melee character, I'm closer to the boss. Because if I'm standing at 40 yards away from something, let's just run over to one of these statues over here. One of these boyos, right, so let's just say I'm in range of this guy, let's pretend, right? Right now, even here, I'm fine, I can see most of him. Let's even go to the current maximum of here. I can still see most of them, it's grand. But if I hop on my mount again and go into melee range of this guy, and then I go to the current maximum, you can see that I'm pretty much staring at his boots. It's kind of hard to see without angling my camera, and as I'm sure many of you know, when you angle your camera like this, if a mob runs in behind you, it's massive, it takes up all your screen. It's very uncomfortable indeed. So I suppose I can see that for players maybe, you know, who are in melee range, this is a more comfortable way of playing the game, and that's not just melee DPS, it's melee tanks, and situational awareness is so important for tanks that, yeah, that's something I really did want to ensure made it into the final cut of this video. Now, one thing that I would recommend to Blizzard is look at this, guys, look at this. What is my camera doing? Now, this applies to every single zoom level. What is my camera doing? Why is it clipping around like this? This is so uncomfortable. Now, I do think that if Blizzard want to fix some of the usability issues with their camera, you know, maybe come up with a clipping solution so the little doodads like this don't mess up your camera, you know? Maybe make it so that bosses, or, you know, if a mob is running in behind me, it kind of fades in or something. There are some little things which they could maybe do to try to keep their camera a little bit more user-friendly. Maybe if there was an option that would mean that my camera would by default hover a little bit higher from the ground so that things like this wouldn't happen. There are other things I would like to see them do with the camera before they start doing things like, you know, turning the maximum from here to here, even though it's not a setting that I personally use. So that is my 2 cents on the matter. I somewhat do respect Blizzard's decision. I think if I was making World of Warcraft from scratch, I wouldn't implement a camera that's this far back, because I think, you know, games like this should be an RPG first, and you should have every part of your game design sort of marry into that goal. But now it's at the stage where the cat's out of the bag. It's what players are used to. Why stir the pot when you don't need to? Not particularly sure. Now, I felt like it was worth doing this video because it's been a hot topic issue. I wanted to go in, be reasonable, and also I've seen loads of comparisons that are just screenshots, and I think by doing this sort of little keybind macro thingy here, I think that does a really good job of illustrating to people how it's actually going to feel with their regular gameplay. Now, I have seen reports on my Twitter, you know, people saying they don't enjoy the game as much with this camera. That might just be a, you know, maybe once they get used to the camera, you know, in its current maximum, maybe they'll be fine. Perhaps there's some motion sickness concerns. It'll take people a while to get used to it, but that's pretty much my 2 cents. Respect Blizzard's decision, but I would probably come to a slightly different one myself in terms of just letting people do what they want. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Pretty interested to hear what people have to say about this. But that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.